Gurur Gururdevo Maheshwarah Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Tada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Brahma eva ahamidam jagatcha sakalam chinmatra vistaritam sarvacha etad avidyaya trigunaya ashesham maya kalpitam इत्थम यस्य दृढ़ामति
ये सही बात है, आप छोड़ दो
सुखतरे
क्योंकि क्या है अपने घर में उसको अच्छे से रहना है तो आएगी।
In our last session, we have seen the Lord in the form of Chandala, again emphasizing on this Pratibimba-vada and Avacheda-vada in his second verse. Kim Gangambuni Bimbate Ambaramano Chandala Vatipaya. This is the Pratibimba-vada. That the jewel in the sky is nothing but the sun. Sun reflected in any body of water, whether it is pure holy Ganga waters, or whether it is in a ditch, a wayside ditch, whatever the body of water it may be. It doesn't affect the sun. The sun is the same, its reflection is also the same. Only difference is that depending upon the quality and the state of water, the color of water, the reflection may appear different. Otherwise, it is the same. And in which type of water it is reflected, that doesn't affect the sun itself. As we also look at the mirrors, different types of mirrors, concave, convex, and so on. And the reflections are different in different qualities of mirror, but that doesn't affect us. Similarly, the consciousness also reflected in the mind-intellect equipment is the same in all beings, whether it is human or any other creature. This is all the same. The difference is in the, if all of us do not appear similar, then it is not the fault of the consciousness. It is the reflecting medium. The quality of the reflecting medium, the mind-intellect equipment, where thoughts and emotions, feelings, and sentiments are entertained. The quality of that, depending upon that quality, the reflection will be. The expression of that form will be depending upon the quality of the mind and intellect. The gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, quality. So according to that, the variations will be there. Predominantly sattvic, predominantly rajasic, predominantly tamasic. So the consciousness is same, there is no difference. Whether it is in a predominantly sattvic form, my intellect, where it is reflected, or predominantly tamasic. It is the same consciousness that is reflected in a tamasic mind intellect equipment. So the reflection may vary, but the consciousness itself remains the same. Reflection varies, and its expression also varies according to the quality of the reflecting medium, mind intellect. So therefore, there is absolutely no difference in the consciousness manifesting from any form. The consciousness is the same. The reflection varies, and therefore we have got a variety of mind intellect equipment, different qualities, because one may say that if it is the same consciousness, then everybody should appear similar in their behavior, in their attitude, in their qualities and all those things. Why they are different then? The difference is in the reflecting medium. That determines the quality. And that is how predominantly sattvic people are there, rajasic are there, tamasic are there, and there are so many permutations and combination of sattva, rajas, tamas. And therefore we have got millions and millions of different types of people of these three gunas. So Kim Gangambuni Bimbate Ambaramanam Chandala Vatipayah. So this is the Pratibimbavada, and then Purecha Antaram Asti Kanchana Ghati the pot made of gold or the pot made of mud. The space is the same, there is absolutely no difference. The conditioning of gold walls or conditioning of the mud walls doesn't change the quality of the space that is there within those two pots. So pots may be of different sizes, shape, made out of different materials, but the space inside the pot is the same quality, doesn't make any difference. And moreover, anything that exists in space cannot condition the space. Anything that exists in space and supported by space cannot condition the space. So, similarly, the body, mind, the senses, intellect, pranas, these are the conditionings through which that consciousness expresses, but that doesn't affect the consciousness. It remains the same. The pure self remains the same. It doesn't make any difference to it. Because as the conditionings do not affect the space, similarly, the conditioning of body, mind, intellect equipment, the pranas, the senses, these are the conditioning, they do not affect the self. The self remains the same, because the self is not only all pervading, it is the adhisthana, it is the support. Everything exists in that particular, that self itself, and therefore these equipment, they cannot condition the self, because it is the support of the conditionings. It is the substratum of the conditioning. It is the enlivener of the conditioning, and therefore these conditionings also exist in the self, supported by the self, and therefore these conditionings cannot affect or condition the self, as the different conditioning of walls or different pots cannot affect the space. So also the self, whether that consciousness, that pure self is expressing through a form which is predominantly sattvic, called as Brahmana, or a predominantly tamasic called as Shudra, it doesn't affect the self because it is the same, cannot be conditioned by these conditionings. Then Pratyak Vastuni Nistaranga Sahaja Anandav Bodha Ambudav. So in that ocean of consciousness, blissful ocean of consciousness, Ananda Bodha Ambudav, there are no ripples of thought. Nistaranga Sahaja. There are no ripples of thought. So therefore, there cannot be any notion of any differences, bheda. There cannot be any notion of that. So, Vipra ayam shwapacho ayam iti api mahan kaha ayam viveda brahma. So, if at all there is a sense of difference between whether somebody is a dog eater or somebody is a Brahmana, if there is a difference, that is because of delusion. Viveda brahma, that is because of delusion. So this kind of differences cannot be there. In the light of Upanishad also, there is no room for bheda or differences. So these first two shlokas here is from the Lord addressing, appearing as a sweeper, as a chandala, and addressing Adi Shankara when he told him to get out of the way. Having heard that, then of course Adi Shankaracharya, she was wonderstruck, amazed, and then he came into his own. Somewhere some trace of Dvaita or duality was still lingering. That was also cleaned out. And then spontaneously he composed the next 5 shlokas based on the Mahavakya, 4 Vedas. And we have seen in our last session the first one. Jagrat Swapna Sashuktishu Sfutatara Ya Samvid Ubjumrate Ya Brahmadi Pipilikanta Tanushu Prota Jagat Sakshani. So this is based on Prajnanam Brahma of Aitriya Upanishad from Rig Veda. This particular shloka. So, Esha Manisha Mama, at the end he says, Chandala astu natu satu dvijastu guru iti Esha Manisha Mama. This is my firm conviction. So now Prajnanam, that is the consciousness. We have seen this. That pure consciousness, which is the enlivening principle, that consciousness or awareness, bodha, which enlivens all beings and illumines all things, things and being. Actually, the body, mind, intellect equipment also comes under the category of things, because they are matter and they are seen. They appear to be sentient because of consciousness expressing enlivening. So it enlivens and it illumines both the things. And then right from Brahmaji up to even the ant or even unicellular creatures. So this consciousness enlivens everything. Not only that, it also illumines our experiences of the waking, dream, and the deep sleep state. Especially in the we can see this in the dream state. Waking state, now somebody may say that, okay, we see everything in the light of the sun. This is what somebody may argue. But in the dream state, when the eyes are closed, the room is dark, with a sheet pulled over, moonless night, and yet we see in the dream bright sunlight, a rising sun, and all the greeneries, birds chirping, and all those things, sceneries. We see a bright scenery. So, in whose light are we seeing that? That is again the same consciousness, prajnanam. So, it illumines all the experience of the three avasthas. And it is also the Jagat Sakshini, witness of the samsara, of the creation. Now, one who has realized this, sa eva aham nacha drushya vastu iti dhrudha prajnapi yasya asti chet. So the one who has realized this, that pure consciousness, prajnanam, is what I am, not what is seen. Drushya vastu iti. What is seen is this body is seen and known. And then, of course, the pranas, the mind, the senses, the intellect, they are all known. Their contents are known. So they are seen, and therefore they cannot be I. The one who has this firm knowledge, firm realization, one who has realized that already. So, dhrudha prajnapi yasya asti chet, let him be a chandala or let him be a dvija, brahmana. So, he is my guru, Esha Manisha. So, he has realized firmly that he is the pure self and not the body, mind, intellect, equipment. So, whether he is a chandala or a brahmana, it doesn't matter. He is my guru. So we have seen this in our last session. Consciousness is the subtlest and the most pervasive of everything. This we have seen so many times in different contexts, in different texts also we have come across that. So, most pervasive, the subtlest of all, and that is what the real Swarupa is. And being the subtlest and most pervasive, it is the substratum of everything, not subject to modification and not subject to destruction. So, that pure self I am. This much we have seen, and then we have just begun the second shloka. Second shloka based on the Aham Brahmasmi Mahavakya. Now here, Brahma eva aham idam jagatcha sakalam chinmatra vistaritam. So this comes from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad of Yajurveda, Aham Brahmasmi. So one who has realized oneself to be this Brahman, Brahma eva aham idam, that is the pure consciousness, of course will have the firm conviction with the direct subjective awareness of his own self. Now, in this, itham yasya drudamatihi, firm conviction, sukhatare nitye pare nirmale. Sukhatare. Sukhatare is the infinite bliss. One who has realized the self is in infinite bliss. 24/7, every moment. Our experience of happiness is momentary, fleeting, ephemeral, temporary, and dependent on external objects. Whereas this Sukhatare is infinite bliss, independent of external conditions or objects or anything like that. It is the Swarupa, the essential nature of our own self, the blissful nature. So, Sukhatare, that is an important thing, infinite bliss. And Nitya, this Sukhatare is how it is Nitya. Nitya means it is beginningless and eternal, endless, beginningless and endless, beginningless and eternal, Anadi Ananta. In short, it is beyond the limitations of time, Nitya. And then, because everything that is known to us through our own perceptions of five sense organs, mind and intellect, everything that is known to us they are all anitya. Nothing is nitya, everything is anitya. They don't appear similar, they are constantly modifying and all that. So this is contrary to that, it is nitya. Sukhatare, nitya. And pare. Pare is supreme. Supreme means that which is beyond the limitations of time, space, causation, and objects. That is supreme. There are no limitations whatsoever of anything. So this is supreme, pare, supreme. All other thing that is known to us through our own sense organs, mind or intellect, they are limited by time, limited by space, limited by causation, limited by other objects, presence of other objects, and so on. Our own body is also a limited entity, limited by time, limited by space, limited by causation. The cause of formation of each body is different. Different set of karma phalas, that has karmas that has fructified, prarabdha. And therefore, the forms appear different, and the experiences that form will undergo will be also different. It's not necessarily the similar experiences, the same experience, exactly the same experience. It will be different. So, they are limited by causation. What caused the body, the form, what caused the form to manifest? So this is the different sets of karmas as from the past. So supreme causation, so limitation of causation and limitation of object by the presence of other objects, then this form will be limited. But whereas the pure consciousness is concerned, is not limited by anything because that alone exists and nothing else. So Nirmale is unblemished, pure unblemished. What is the blemish? The blemish is ignorance. So that pure self is unblemished. There is no trace of ignorance in that. So it is Nirmale. So Sukhatare Nitya Pare Nirmale. So Brahma Eva Aham Idam. So one who has realized this Brahman, he has realized that it is infinite bliss. It is Nitya, eternal, beyond all limitations, and of course, without any blemish. That he has realized. So this pure self. Now, but the body, mind, intellect, equipment, and everything, they are limited by space, time, object. Even the world around us, they are limited by space, time, causation, object. And they are subject to, of course, modification. And of course, subject to change of form, transformation, destruction. The same form doesn't remain. And they are all temporary, momentary, ephemeral, fleeting, So, Nitya Sukha cannot come from all that. Whereas here it is Sukhatare, infinite bliss. So from this constantly changing world, subject to modification and limited, it cannot give us an infinite bliss, eternal bliss, because it's all temporary. So where will the permanent bliss come from? Nitya Sukha cannot come from that. Therefore, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. This one has to understand very clearly. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. There is only Brahman and nothing else. There is only one pure self, consciousness, and nothing else exists. So, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. But this Jagat we experience. So, at the same time, it is also said, Sarva Khalu Vidam Brahma. Everything is Brahman alone. If it appears something else, that is because of our own delusion, because of our own ignorance. If it appears something else. And this ignorance, this delusion, is the cause of our sorrow, misery, and pain. If this delusion, this ignorance is the cause of our sorrow, misery, and pain, then the solution is knowledge. So we have to get out of this ignorance and acquire that knowledge and have the subjective awareness of that. That itself is a solution. Ignorance is the cause, solution is knowledge. And nothing else. Karma is not the solution. Knowledge is the solution for ignorance. If we have to acquire something in this world, then karma is the solution. Then we have to work for that. But if we are suffering because of some ignorance, our suffering is because of ignorance, then we have to acquire knowledge to negate that ignorance. So, one example that is often quoted in the scriptures, that is, somebody comes late night from work, 2 o'clock, something like that, 2:30, late night, and walks to his house, and he has been doing it for some years. And then one day somebody tells him that every night you come from work and you walk by that path. Do you know there is it's haunted path at night, nobody walks on that path. Now all these years he was walking, he was fine, there was no problem. Once this worm was put into him, this virus was put into him that it is a haunted road, say that there is some ghost there. Now all these years he had no problem, but now after hearing this, that night when he walks back to his house, he'll be alert and he'll be looking everywhere. And everything will appear to him as if something is there, some ghost is there. Even if a mouse is running, and of course the street light is there on the other side, the reflection, the shadow of the mouse will be long. I saw somebody running. Maybe that fellow is right. Or he sees somebody standing somewhere. And then he starts appearing like some form, some ghost. So it was just a post, but because of his imagination, now he starts imagining things where that thing was not there earlier. And as if he has not seen that, and then suddenly that thing appears, maybe that ghost he was talking about is there. So it is only our delusion, it is only our ignorance. As long as we were clear, we were walking, there was this guy was walking, there was no problem. But then somebody put this virus into his head, and then that created the problem. So it is our ignorance because of which we suffer. Blame ignorance and nothing else. waker is never affected by the dream. Only dreamer seems to be affected by the dream. Waker is not affected by the dream. One who is awakened, the waking plane of consciousness. So, because the waker realizes that dream was nothing but his own mental projection. His own mind projected the dream world. So, the man walking at night, his own mind projected the ghost on the post. In reality, there was no ghost, only his mind projected it because some thoughts were put into his head about it, and therefore it started projecting. So the waker is not disturbed or affected by the dream because he realizes after he wakes that it was a projection of his own mind and not a reality. It was just an illusory projection of his own mind. So also, when the one who has realized the self, he also realizes that Jagacha Sakalam Chinmatra Vistaritam. Jagacha Sakalam Chinmatra Vistaritam. So the entire existence, entire creation, it is vast extension of his own consciousness. Chin is consciousness, chin or chit. Chin, when you do the sandhi vichar, it becomes chit. Chit is pure consciousness. So, chit matra vistaritam, that vastness, that extensive, expansive, that is nothing but it has come from his own consciousness. And it is what? It is just a very tiny ripple in the minutest corner of his entire consciousness, somewhere in some corner. You see, in that infinite consciousness, and it was all kalpitam. Sarva cha etat avidyaya trigunaya ashesham maya kalpitam. So the jiva, the deluded jiva projected, it is the projection of the deluded jiva due to ignorance. Cha etat avidyaya, due to ignorance, it was a projection of the deluded jiva, and under the play of the three gunas, trigunatmika maya, under the play of the three gunas, sattva rajas tamas. So, sarvacha etat avidyaya trigunaya ashesham maya kalpita. So therefore, having realized that, now there is no delusion. Once we see through that, then we see the substratum only, and not that which is projected on the substratum, the illusoriness of that. we see beyond that. So, when mirage water is seen, we also, through the Jnana Chakshu, we see the sand beyond the mirage water on which it is projected, the mirage water is projected. So, Charma Chakshu will see this world of names and forms. Jnana Chakshu will see, the eye of wisdom will see that which is beyond the names and forms. The eye of wisdom, or the Jnana Chakshu. So, through that, what is seen is the substratum beyond the apparent, beyond the projected names and forms. Now, having said that, we move on to the third shloka. Now, this is based on the Tattvamasi Mahavakya from this Chandogya Upanishad of Samaveda. Shashvanashvarameda vishvamakhilam nishchitya vacha guru nityam brahma nirantaram vimrushata nirvyaya shantatmana bhutam bhavicha dushkrutam pradahata samvidmaye pavake prarabdhaya samarpitam swavapuhu. Prarabdhaya samarpitam svavapuriti esha manisha mama. Shashvan nashwaram eva vishwam akhilam nishchitya vacha guroho nityam brahma nirantam vimrushata nirvyaja shantatmana bhutam bhavi cha dushkrutam pradahata संवितमये पावके प्रारब्धाय समर्पितम स्ववपुः इति एषा मनीषा मम. So now here this one is based on this Tattvamasi Mahavakya, Guru Upadesha, Prajnanam Brahma, and then Tattvamasi. Now, having heard the Guru Upadesha, sadhak does the Mananam and Nididhyasana, reflecting on what is heard and contemplating on what is reflected upon. So, what is the Guru Upadesh here? Shashvan Nashwaram Eva Vishwam Akhilam Nishchitya. So, Guru Upadesh is that this Jagat, this Vishwam is Vikari, subject to modification, ephemeral, temporary, momentary, and Nashwara, subject to destruction. So, all names and forms are finite and subject to modification, subject to destruction in time, and that includes the body, the senses, the pranas, mind, intellect. It also includes all these, and they are subject to modification and destruction. So, unknowingly, all of us want infinite bliss, permanent. It is not there for a few seconds or a few minutes and an hour or two or a day or two, and after that everything is back to either boredom or misery. Not like that. Unknowingly, vast majority of us want that infinite bliss, which can never come from the finite world. Not only finite, but it is subject to modification every time and also subject to destruction. So we cannot derive that. Now, Guru is telling the disciple that Shashwan Nashwaram Vishwam Akhilam Nishchitya Vacha Guru. Why this Upadesh is important? That the world is constantly changing, subject to modification, it is temporary, it is subject to destruction, it is finite, limited, and all that, because our Swarupa is Sukha, infinite bliss. Because of ignorance, we are not aware of that, and we, all of us without exception, want to be happy always. And because of ignorance, since we do not know the infinite blissful self, which is a source, we are ourselves source for that, and therefore we go out into the world in search of that Sukha. And it is not for one life. Millions of lives together we have spent after that. And we keep on going there. Because all of us want to be happy all the time. So, now Guru is telling that this is temporary, subject to destruction, and you want infinite happiness. How can you get it from this constantly changing and subject to destruction, finite, this world? How can you get infinite happiness? So therefore, with Viveka, now he is forced to contemplate, reflect and contemplate on this Guru Vakya. With Viveka, he has to understand this. Is it so? What Guru has said, I cannot get any infinite bliss from this external world. And whatever little bit of happiness that I derive from that, that also has to be dependent on external objects, which will not be available to me at all times, which will keep changing also. Sometimes it will be there, sometimes it will not be there. So unless that Viveka is there, that Vairagya cannot come. And Avesh Vairagya doesn't help. suddenly because of some event or some incident in life, and suddenly somebody says that I want to take sannyas. That is Avesh Vairagya. Avesh Vairagya doesn't help. Because as soon as the conditions are conducive, favorable, immediately his Vairagya will disappear. This is what it is. That is called as Avesh Vairagya. So that doesn't help. Therefore, in our Sanatan Dharma, we have this ashram vyavastha. The 4 ashramas are there. And 4 purusharthas are there. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas ashram. And 4 purushartha, dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So, from Brahmacharya ashram, we enter into Grihastha ashram. Grihastha ashram is there for artha purushartha and kama purushartha. The dharma purushartha and moksha purushartha are in the background, because for that there is not much time. Time is spent on artha purushartha and kama purushartha. So this Grihastha ashram is given for that. So earn money, we have got lots of desires, fulfill those desires, work hard, earn money, fulfill the desires, get some, derive some sukha, some joy, pleasure or happiness out of that. And then if it gives something, then we want to repeat it. We need money for that. So earn money and then fulfill the desires, this desire, that desire, and so on. But at some point in time, we have to pause and think. I've been working hard, earning money, and then fulfilling my desires. I seem to derive some kind of joy, pleasure, or happiness. But they are all temporary, momentary. It doesn't last continuously. For a few seconds, few minutes, an hour or two, a day or two. After that, I'm back to square one. So once that thought comes, it takes a long time. It takes many lives for that thought to manifest. It cannot come in one lifetime. Millions of lives goes away like that before one starts thinking. So after a certain age in Grihastha ashram, cross certain age, then of course we have to be like a shrewd accountant. Okay, this is the desire I have. And to fulfill that desire, how much time, effort and money will go into that? And what is the quantum of joy, pleasure or happiness I will derive out of that, and how long will it last? Is it really worth it? So that is how then we still earn, we are still a Grihastha, and we still fulfill the desires, because for a Grihastha, it is not the person alone, but the family also is there. Their desires, that also has to be fulfilled. But now, with Viveka Buddhi, we think and do it. And that is how the Vairagya comes. When we start thinking, otherwise the Vairagya doesn't come. So, Shashvan Nashwaram Eva Vishwam Akhilam Nishitya Vacha Guraha, and then Nirvyaja Shanta Atmana. Only when this Vairagya comes, that when I'm convinced fully that I cannot get an iota, or there is no iota of joy, pleasure or happiness in the external world, unless I'm convinced beyond a shadow of doubt, I cannot withdraw from the external world. My mind will not withdraw from the external world. It will keep running to that. So once it is convinced thoroughly that absolutely there is nothing there in the external world, then only the mind will withdraw from the external world. Unless the mind withdraws from the external world, it is not available to us for the contemplation of the higher reality. So this Vairagya has to be there. Without Vairagya, it is not possible. And Vairagya comes from Viveka, not Avesha Vairagya. So with Viveka, when we are convinced about it, then okay, it is of no use. Why should I wander there? Because what I want is not available there. So I have to seek somewhere else. I have to seek within me. Then only Nirvyaja Shanta Atmana, such a one, then he contemplates on that mind attains Shanti, peace, because now that has gone. So, Nityam Brahma Nirantaram Vimrushata. Then his contemplation is on continuously, non-stop, he's contemplating on that absolute truth, the pure self. he is ready for this nididhyasana after the mind has been quietened. So continuously he is contemplating on that. Then bhutam bhavicha dushkrutam pradahata samvidmaye pavake. Bhutam bhavi. Now what is bhutam and what is bhavi here? Here it is to do with the karmas. Bhutam and bhavi. So according to the law of karma, there is vasana is there. From vasana, the kamana comes, and kamana puts us into karma. And after the karma is done, depending upon the result, if it was a good result and it gave us some kind of joy, pleasure, or happiness, then we want to repeat it. And that is how new vasanas are built up. When we experience something new, then additional vasanas come. Instead of exhausting the existing vasanas, then we build new vasanas, because we hear about some other source of happiness or pleasure and we want to explore that also. It goes on. And the karmas are done, and in fulfillment of this kamana, sometimes there are obstacles in fulfilling those. And when there are obstacles, then the emotion that is developed towards the obstacle is anger. And in anger, sometimes we may commit a negative action, karma. So that will again give another result, a negative result. So it will go on like that. So all these karmas that we perform, it is collected into what is called as a sanchit karma. So bhutam is all that karmas that were done in the past lives, bhutam, and bhavi is the agami karma that we'll be doing now, and that will fructify in the future also from the sanchit karma, and what karmas we are doing now in the present life. So this is the cycle, karmic cycle. Vasana, kamana, karma, and then again we go into that. Then again kamana, karma, and new vasana comes. New vasana is developed when we experience something new which we had not experienced earlier. And then for that, if it was a pleasurable one, then a vasana for that. If it was a negative one, again there is a negative vasana for that. You want to stay away from that, and so on. So this will go on. Now dushkrutam. So bhutam bhavicha dushkrutam. Dushkrutam means a sin, papa. Now what exactly is papa, or what exactly is sin? Anything that disturbs the mind, agitates the mind, makes the mind restless, gives a sense of guilt. So that is sin. That is papa. So anything that makes us restless or agitated, so then, or gives a sense of guilt, then of course it is sin. So we have to understand what is this sin. So now bhutam bhavicha dushkrutam pradahata samvidmaye pavake. So this sanchita and agami karma, both these two, pradahata, pavake, in the jnanagni, in the fire of knowledge, both these sanchita and agami karma is burnt to ashes. So bhutam bhavicha dushkrutam pradahata samvid pavake. Now agami karma, those karmas which were supposed to be in future lives, and those which are there pending in the sanchita karma, now both are burnt, but what is left is the prarabdha karma. Now prarabdhaya samarpitam swavapuhu iti esha manisha mama. So now whatever the prarabdha karma is there, which has already fructified and started giving results, this sadhaka who has realized the self now, he has burnt off all his agami and sanchita karma. in the fire of knowledge. Now what is left is the prarabdha. Now once the ego is burnt away, ego is destroyed, then whose prarabdha it is? It is not Atma's prarabdha, because it was so-called Jiva's prarabdha. Now Jiva is no more there because ego is dissolved. And body is an insentient matter. So it is not that also. So whose prarabdha? Therefore, a realized master has no prarabdha. Then the body that is manifested, it will go through the experiences of whatever it has to go. But what is the attitude of the one who has realized the self? The one who has realized the self, whose ego has been destroyed, for him, the body exists in me. I do not exist in the body. You see? So, this I, which is all pervading, which is Ekameva Advitiya, it doesn't exist in the body. The body is existing. It is the substratum of the body itself. You see? So, such a one is my Guru, Adi Shankaracharya says. So, the one who has got this knowledge, he has burnt his Sanchitanagami karma, his ego has dissolved, he has realized that I alone exist, everything is in me, I am the substratum of everything. In fact, there is the notion of everything is also not there. Ekameva Advitiya is there. That's all. So, as long as this prarabdha is there, the body will be there. After that, the body will fall off. Nothing else is there. So, in this particular shloka, Adi Shankaracharya gives the technique to the sadhaka. A sincere sadhaka to attain vairagya, withdraw the mind, contemplate on the higher reality, realize the self. In realization, automatically everything gets burned down. And then, as long as the prarabdha karma is active, the body will be there, thereof. After that, the body will fall off. That's it. But that doesn't matter. It is not a concern for the Mahatmaji, the one who has realized the self. Having said that, now, in the fourth verse, the fourth shloka, Adi Shankara ji bases this one on Ayam Atma Brahma, Mahavakya Ayam Atma Brahma. This comes from Mandukya Upanishad of Atharvana Veda. Fourth shloka. Yatiryang nara devata bhirahami. Yatiryang nara devata bhirahami hamitim antasfuta gruyate yad bhasarudayaksha deha vishaya bhanti svato chetana tam bhasyai pihitarka mandala nibham spurti sada bhavayan yogi nivritta manaso hi guru iti esha manisha mama ya tiryang naradevata bhi aham iti antasfuta gruhyate yad bhasa hridaya aksha deha vishaya bhanti swatah achetanaha tam bhasyaihi pihita arka mandala nibham spurti sada bhavayan yogi nivritta manasah hi guru iti esha manisha. This is on Prajnanam Brahma. Yogi nivritti manasa. That yogi, that Mahatma, that seeker, that yogi, whose mind is completely withdrawn, nivritta manasa, mind is completely withdrawn within. That is Vairagi, Parama Vairagi, completely withdrawn within. Nothing in the external world interests him anymore. Good, bad, whatever is happening. Vairagya is that they are not concerned what is happening in the world. Some may say that That is not right. They should be concerned about what is happening in the world and they should help the world. That is not required. There are many great Mahatmas, great yogis living in the Himalayas, living in the caves, and they do come down also to the plains. But just by their mere presence, they benefit the world. So, if the external world doesn't affect, there are so many things happening in this world, good, bad, so many things are happening, but that doesn't matter. To this yogi, Nivrutta Manasa, who has withdrawn his mind within, Vairagi. So, having withdrawn the mind within, what is this yogi supposed to do? Then he has to meditate on the source of this Vyashti and Samashti Jagat, the source of the individual and the total world. So he has to fully focus on that and meditate on the source. What is the source of this manifestation of this whole world? The universe, the creation. At the individual level also, what is the source of manifestation of this? The totality and the individuality. So that he has to focus on. Because if we have to get to our own self, the real self, we have to trace back the source from which it has all manifested or it has appeared like that. What is the cause and what is the source of that? The cause is, of course, our own ignorance. But what is the source? Even without ignorance, if the manifestation has to appear, there has to be a substratum to that. If it is the projection of our own deluded mind, there has to be a substratum for that, without which the projection cannot appear. The play of light and sound cannot appear without the substratum of the screen. Without the screen, there cannot be a play of light and sound called cinema. So the substratum has to be there. So beyond all that, focusing, so the source is the substratum of everything. That is what this yogi, after withdrawing the mind, has to focus on. So now what is he focusing on? Ya tiryang nara devata bhihi aham iti antasfuta griyate. That I notion that comes in all forms, all the jivas, all the life forms, even I notion is there. Antasfuta griyate. Whether it is tiryang, tiryang means four-legged creature, tiryang nara, human beings, devata, the deities, devata bihi, aham iti antasfuta griyate. Within that I which comes out, I notion, I. So now focusing on that source, that I, the source of that I. Yad bhasa hridaya aksha deha vishaya bhanti swata achetanaha. So that light which illumines the body, the sense organs, the mind, intellect, equipment, all the objects, vishayas, even though they are all insentient. So this is what the sadhana is given here. This yogi having withdrawn the mind, now the sadhana is given. This is what he has to focus on. Further on this, we will take up in our next session. Now, if anybody has got any questions.
Hari Om Swami. Hari Om Swami.
Hari Om.
Everybody is spellbound like Shankaracharya ji. Any question? Swamiji, if nobody is there, then I am always there.
Yes.
Swamiji, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya.
Hmm.
This is true for the realized masters
Hmm.
who have burnt their Sanchit Karma in the fire of knowledge.
Hmm.
Then there are totally ignorant ones.
Hmm.
For them, Jagat Satyam, Brahman Mithya. Now what? Now where should we go? Who have done 2.5 years of Vedanta course with you? You have put us in a very precarious situation. For us, Swamiji, Brahman is also Satyam and Jagat is also Satyam. So Swamiji, we cannot ignore this world. Even realized masters, they may be seeing this world, Jagat, as the extension of themselves. They cannot ignore this world, Jagat, of name and forms. They are also bound by the laws, regulation of this so-called projected Jagat. Now, Swami, the one question is this, that where should we go, people like us? For us, Brahman and Jagat both are Satyam. The second question is, for us also, during the amatra state, amatra state or sandhikal state, the pure consciousness or Brahman becomes real for us. Those who are sincerely practicing contemplation and particularly the Nididhyasa. During those moments, Brahman becomes Satyam, Jagat becomes Mithya during those times. Because this state is an objectless state. Objects meaning the world temporarily disappears. And what becomes true is nothing but awareness. That is our true nature. Now, Swamiji, you have to solve this problem. Because we are all upasaks, believed in the form as the God. Slowly, gradually, step by step, you have brought us up to this level. So I want clarification or solution, and what should we do to, because I understand the ultimate, it is the nothing but the samadhi, which is very distant at this moment, although we are that only. So I want you to talk about that, Swamiji.
So what you want to know is, you sit in meditation and you are focused on that amatra, sandhikala, and then after that you have to come back and then you have to deal with the world. And though we have not realized the self, the world and Brahman both are equally real to us at this moment in time.
Correct.
So now, how to progress further? You see, the thing is that for millions of lives together, we have lived this. The type of life we are living now, thoroughly identified with our body, mind, intellect, equipment. and the mind being extrovert, outgoing to the five senses, into this world around us. And this world we have been experiencing, and we cannot negate that just like that, because this is what we are experiencing. And every day we have to go out in this world and deal with the world around us, the people around us. But as a seeker, what can we do? We are not just any jiva that is living in this world, but we are also the spiritual seekers. So as a spiritual seeker, we are doing our sadhana, we are doing the Shravana sadhana. At this moment in time, we are going through that only Shravana sadhana. And then we do our mananam and nididhyasanam also, study of the scriptures. We may do meditation, we meditate also. And then, since last couple of texts, we have been focusing on that amatra or the sandhikala that is going on. But then what happens is that 24/7, every moment, even when we are dealing with the outside world, that background has to be there. Like I'll tell you, in Bhakti Yoga, there is Japa Sadhana. Isn't it? Now, Japa Sadhana is a simple sadhana, but Japa Sadhana is not limited to a particular time where in the morning or evening you sit in your puja room with a mala in your hand and make a sankalp of 2 malas a day, 1 mala in the morning, 1 mala in the evening, or 2 malas in the morning, and the Japa Sadhana doesn't get over there. Every day I have taken a sankalp of 2 malas, so every day I do 2 malas in the morning and it's over. No. Japa Sadhana is that when you are not talking to anyone, that japa is continuously going on in your mind. Because from Vaikhari Vani, Japa Sadhana goes from Vaikhari to Madhyama Vani, from Madhyama to Pashyanti Vani, and then from Pashyanti to Paravani. So this is how it has to go. So Japa Sadhana, the one who is engaged in Japa Sadhana, it has to be continuous, non-stop. Whenever I am not talking to anyone, that Japa has to go on in my mind. Whatever mantra I have got, whatever Guru mantra I have got, so that Japa has to go continuously, without a break. And while I am traveling or walking or going to the office or going to the market, when I am not talking to anyone, so that Japa has to be continuously going on. This is simple Japa Sadhana. So as this Japa has to continuously go on, if it has to progress from Madhyama Vani to from Vaikhari Vani to Madhyama, Madhyama to Pashyanti, so it has to progress like that, it has to continuously go on. Similarly, throughout the day, this background, it has to go on. Everything is only consciousness, pure self. It is not only a specific time. I give some time in the morning for meditation or in the evening for meditation. And during that time, I am meditating. I'm fully focused on the Sandhikala or Amatra. And then after some time, that awareness also goes away. It becomes an objectless awareness. That I am focusing on the Sandhikala, that awareness goes away. It is only awareness left like that. So that is not limited. So it should not be limited to the morning evening session. That focus, that everything is consciousness, and that in the background has to play throughout the day. As the Japa Sadhana, the mantra chanting also goes on continuously throughout the day, or one who is doing the sadhana of Japa in Bhakti Yoga. That continuously goes on. Namasmaran continuously goes on. So that is how it progresses to Paravani. So similarly, this, as I have been telling this, Adhyatmic sadhana is not a part-time job. It is a 24 hours full-time job. In and through all our activities, whatever we see, hear and everything like that, it has to take, even when we watch an ant moving, that has to take to that consciousness, that pure self that is manifesting through a small life form, that is the ant. When we see anything like that, everything has to be, then focus has to, everything that whatever we see, our focus has to move towards that consciousness, because of which that is existing, because of which that is moving. Each and everything. And then when you see that, when you do this continuously, it becomes a joy, it becomes a pleasure. It gives a tremendous amount of joy when we start focusing on that. Everywhere we see that manifestation of consciousness only. Whatever I look at, I go into the world, I deal with people around in this world, and we see this consciousness pulsating everywhere, without which nothing can exist. So every action, everything that we do throughout the day, our mundane actions also, getting up in the morning, going to the washroom, taking a bath, changing our clothes, having breakfast, doing puja and all those things, each and every action that we do in and through all that, that awareness has to be there constantly. You see? So this, when it is continuous like that, then only like the japa sadhana moving from Vaikhari to Madhyama and to Pashyanti and Para, then only it is not limited to the japa sadhaka. He does a certain sankalpa he has taken of doing certain number of malas every day. So that he does, but then it is not limited to that. Then he has to do chant continuously throughout the day. Namaswaran goes on throughout the day. So similarly, this awareness has to go on throughout the day, in and through everything. The world for us, as a jiva, in ignorance, we take this world real. But as a sadhaka, we should also understand that the substratum of this is consciousness. And when we are watching anybody, anything, the consciousness manifesting, different people, different creatures, different animals, even insentient objects also, that consciousness is manifesting only as existence, not as knowledge or bliss. So at level of existence only. So every time it has to take us to that. We look at a mountain, beautiful mountain, lots of greenery on there, or a snow-capped mountain. But then it is same consciousness manifesting as only as existence through that. So every moment, everything that we watch, that what we hear, what we see, what we smell, what we taste, everything, it has to take back to that consciousness throughout the day, in and through all our experiences, in and through all our activities.
Acha, Swamiji, a para stage is a matra stage.
In para stage, in japa sadhana, para stage is that the chanting happens without we doing anything. The chanting happens. It is like a radio is playing constantly in your room. Chanting mantra say Om Namah Shivaya. So 24/7, 24 hours that radio is playing that and you can hear that. But instead of radio, it will be playing in your own body inside. 24 hours, even at in your deep sleep state also, that is going on. You wake up with that, you sleep, you go to sleep with that, you wake up, you are not chanting, but that chanting is going on in the background. That is what happens in Paravani. I have known one Amma, she passed away a couple of years ago. She was, I think, maybe 95, 96 years old. Bengali Amma. She had taken Mantra Diksha from one Mahatma Ji from Bengal. And her japa sadhana had reached to such stage that she was not doing any japa, and she told me that it constantly 24/7, every moment it goes on in the background. I don't have to do anything. 24/7, every moment that chanting is going on. I asked her whether it is a male voice or a female voice. Just out of curiosity, I asked her. So she said that you can't determine exactly the quality of that voice, whether it is a male or a female, but that voice is chanting continuously. It is like if some radio is switched on and that chanting is going on continuously. That is Paravani. There was one Mahatma Ji, he was lying on the bank of a holy river, and one old sannyasi was passing by. And this youngster, this fellow was a young fellow, he was lying there on the river bank. So this Mahatma Ji asked this fellow that, why are you wasting your time and lying down and doing nothing here? Instead, why don't you do sadhana? So this youngster who was lying on that bank of the river, he he asked the Mahatmaji to come closer and he put his hand on his ear. So this Mahatmaji could hear from the hand the chanting going on. Then he told that Swamiji to put that his ear to his on his stomach, and he could hear the chanting going on from his stomach, and from his feet also the chanting is going on. Then the sannyasi told him, okay, you continue, you don't have to do anything. So that is when it has gone to Paravani. The Japa sadhana has gone to Paravani.
So, Swamiji, as I understand, in para stage, even the mantra disappears and only awareness remains.
That awareness remains. He is not chanting, he is not doing anything.
Correct. So
only awareness remains, that we have to progress, but it has to manifest in our day-to-day living.
Right.
It has to continue, not just when we are sitting in meditation, no. From morning, the way we wake up, till we go to sleep, this has to continue. You see? That
Swami,
awareness has to be there in the background.
Swamiji, our sincere effort, we promise you that our sincere efforts will continue.
Yes.
But Guru grace, your grace is required. Your grace is not only Swami Avadhutanand grace, because Ramana Maharshi says it is the God sends Guru to you, or God becomes the Guru and he comes to you. This is what Ramana Maharshi has said. So for us, your grace is as important or equated with the God's grace, Swamiji.
You see this since last more than 2.5 years. We have been studying the scriptures, in-depth study of the scriptures we are doing. This is His grace alone, isn't it? It has manifested and we have come to this stage. It is all because of His grace alone. And of course, His grace is there, but our efforts have to be there. So His grace is no doubt there, but our efforts also have to be there, equally there. Then things happen. It will happen. And all of us without exception have to realize the self. That sankalpa has to be strong. Before dropping the form, the present form, the realization has to happen. We have to know ourselves. That's it. There should be no two ways about it. There should be no any shadow of doubt about it.
Yes, Swamiji. Okay, Swamiji. Hari Om, Swami.
Hari Om, we'll now.
Yes, Swami. Yeah, we can.
Swamiji, just one
Swami.
question.
Yeah. Okay, ask the question.
Oh, in that the chanting, constant chanting, you become like that. You don't feel like talking to anybody, and then that becomes a problem. People think that you are. I feel that you don't feel like talking to anything or anybody because it's kind of disturbance. So then people will not look at it very kindly.
When we are doing spiritual sadhana, we should not bother about what people think. Let them
Auntie,
whatever they have.
Auntie, what is your question?
My question was that constant chanting or whatever the name, these things, so because you're living in the sansar, the constant, if you these things, sometimes you miss hearing or you don't feel like answering, you don't feel like talking, it happens. So then the other person might feel what kind of a...
Who's that other person?
Who's about the other person?
There have been great Mahatmas who are thought to be mad people because their behavior didn't conform to the people around, majority of the people around them. So they were considered as mad people, but they were great Mahatmas. So this is what it is. The vast majority of the people, when two kinds of people are there, one who has realized the self and transcended the mind itself, and one who are the vast majority of people, they are in ignorance. And then the third kind is who are psychiatric cases. So there are three categories of people are there, but vast majority of the people who are in a category. So what happens is that those who have transcended the mind, because their behavior will not conform to the vast majority of them. Similarly, those who have got a psychiatric case, their behavior will also not match with the vast majority of the people. So this vast majority of the people, they will call both these people mad. The one who has transcended the mind and realized the self, he is also mad. And the one who has got genuine psychological problem, he is anyway mad. So both are labeled as mad by these people. This is what it is. So therefore, we should not bother about that. Many great saints, sages and masters, they were considered as mad people only. And they were treated like that. And later on, only the people came to know that a great saint is a great master or something like that. They later on came to know about it. But during their own time, many a times, they were considered as mad people because their behavior never conformed to the vast majority of the people.
People think you are unsocial.
Yeah.
Swamiji,
Many
Swamiji.
great Mahatmas were also thought of to be unsocial, or they mad people, or they didn't know anything. What is this fellow? This is a mad fellow.
Swamiji,
Yes.
indirectly you are telling us you decide which category you belong to.
Very correct, very correct.
So this is what it is. So we are doing our sincere sadhana. Somebody may label us maybe not very social or anti-social, or not social, or not what you call mixing type or something like that. It doesn't matter. It didn't bother the great masters, great saints, sages, and masters, rishis also, because the society labeled them like that, but it didn't matter to them. They did what they are supposed to do, and they realized the self. And later on, of course, those people who labeled them as mad, they came to them for knowledge, for blessings and knowledge. And generally, vast majority of the people don't go for spiritual knowledge. They go to solve their own worldly problems.
Okay, Swamiji.
Shall we conclude now?
Yes, Swamiji.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.